Namaskar viewers, hello and welcome to Sansad TV. I'm Teena Jha, you're watching Perspective. At a time when India's defence and security landscape is constantly evolving, and with missions like Operation Sindoor highlighting the unmatched precision, speed and coordination our armed forces are capable of, there's a critical but often unseen engine driving it all: the finances that fuel and power every move. With India's defence budget now exceeding 6.81 lakh crore rupees, the amount which was allocated to the Ministry of Defence in the Union Budget 2025-26, managing this vast and complex financial ecosystem has become more vital than ever. Behind the scenes, the Defence Accounts Department ensures that everything from salaries to strategic procurements, all of this flows seamlessly. One of India's oldest institutions, the Defence Accounts Department, is now undergoing a digital and strategic transformation. So today, we speak to the man leading this change, Dr. Mayank Sharma, the Controller General of Defence Accounts. Dr. Sharma, it's an absolute pleasure to have you with us on Sansad TV. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Let's begin our conversation by understanding from you about the functioning of your department first, because it's one of the oldest institutions under the Government of India. It's lived through 2.5 centuries. But for the benefit of us and our viewers, give us an overview of the structure and the mandate of the Defence Accounts Department.
So like you very rightly said, we are one of the oldest departments in the Government of India. We trace our history to 1747, 278 years old department. Okay. And originally we started as paymasters. But over a period of time, our job became more complex and more varied. And today we perform 4 very important functions in the Ministry of Defence relating to finance. So we do audit, internal audit, we do accounting and payment, and financial advice function. Now, we are one of the unique and one of the, probably I can say, only departments which does all these functions together. So when I talk about the first function of financial advice, it's not like we are giving a normal financial advice relating to defense procurement or anything. In case of Ministry of Defense, financial advice function is totally integrated with the decision-making process, end to end. So from stage 1 of procurement till the time we make payment and till the time we place orders, the department is totally integrated into the system. So the decision-making process relating to procurement, the financial advisors are there as integrated financial advisors. And after the order is placed and payment is made and audit is done, then our department comes forward as a controller of defense accounts. And these 2 organs are integrated in a very seamless manner. So that's a very unique situation in the case of Ministry of Defense. When we talk about accounts, accounts doesn't mean just keeping of account. It is accountability. So very important part when we are talking about a huge budget of 6.8 lakh crore, very accurate, timely accounting of all the defense expenditure in a manner which could aid and assist decision-making process. That is what accounting we are talking about in this case. Similarly, when we talk about payments, now in our case, payments are of 3 different types. One is when we do procurement, vendor payment, foreign payment, all those huge payments are involved. That is one kind of payment that we make. It's a very technical thing. It's not like a simple payment, you issue a check. There's a lot of audit checks involved. There are lots of checks and balances involved. And then we also make payment of pay and allowances of all the army jawans, officers, soldiers in Air Force, Navy, border roads, all the organizations including our own department, DRDO, Indian Coast Guard. So we make the payments of salaries, and except in case of Air Force and Navy, there is a parallel system also, so where we do audit. But one part is payment of salaries, pay and allowances. The second part is payment of pension. Now that is a very, very huge task because we are making payment of pension to about 32 lakh pensioners all over the country. Now 32 lakh is a very big number. You must understand that the total number of central government pensioners, they are about 64 lakhs. 50% of those pensioners belong to us. So that is the kind of payment we make through a highly automated system which is called as Sparsh. And defense pension is very complex compared to normal civilian pension because of so many allowances. Also in defense, the officers and soldiers, they don't retire at the age of 60, they retire before that. And therefore, calculation of pension, there are gallantry awards, and there are various kinds of allowances. So this pension payment itself is a very complex process that we do. And in this whole system of making payment, we have got specialized organizations which are making these payments. Internal audit is a very important function because government, the fundamental principle of making any kind of expenditure from government is it has to be followed by an internal audit check. It is compliance audit as well as assurance audit. So two functions audit. One is to make sure that whatever payment is made, whatever expenditure is incurred is as per the policy, rules, regulations of the Government of India, so that we do not deviate from the laid down principles. That is number one. Number two, very important for audit is also to suggest what kind of improvements we can bring about in the processes, in the systems, so that those systemic changes can ensure that the process flows seamlessly. So these are in very briefly the four important functions that we perform.
Right. I'd like to know in greater detail about some of the initiatives that you've undertaken in recent years in order to perhaps make the service delivery more efficient and transparent for the various stakeholders. But before that, just curious to know about your role, the role of the department, particularly in budget planning and execution. That's an annual exercise, something that every department looks forward to. So what role does the Defence Accounts Department play, particularly in budget planning and then the execution of the annual budget?
So the most important role that the Defence Accounts Department, because budget planning is done at the level of Ministry of Defence and Ministry of Defence Finance. So we have a financial advisor who's closely associated with the budget planning and process in the Ministry of Defence. But all the inputs that are required for that, including the appropriation accounts, which become a part of the budget, they are prepared by us. So the Defence Accounts Department does all the compilation, real-time, accurate, timely, and that compilation is converted into appropriation accounts, which are an important part of the budget planning. And during the year, when you are making expenditure, it has to align itself totally with the allocation of budget. So controlling of expenditure vis-a-vis budget allocation is also a very important part that the department plays. So budget in itself is a planning process. We are an integral part of that. Ministry of Defence Finance and Ministry of Defence, they do the main allocations. But after that, the whole process, including controlling the expenditure against budget, is done by us. And appropriation accounts are prepared by us.
We've seen that in recent years, the defence budget has seen a steady rise. It's grown from 2.53 lakh crore rupees back in 2013-14 to 6.81 lakh crore rupees in 2025-26. How does the Defence Accounts Department ensure transparency, and you mentioned accountability as well, and not just maintaining accounts, in the defence expenditure? If you could explain that to us.
So I think that's a very important aspect of this department, because we, being Defence Accounts Department, being an external department, 2-3 functions we perform very carefully. Transparency is the most important thing. In order to make the whole system transparent, we have a very highly evolved compilation system, audit system, payment system. But we are taking several new initiatives. They are very big projects that we are going to launch shortly, and some of them have already been approved. These systems, once implemented, will bring about such a massive level of transparency, accountability, and they are very futuristic, in the sense that till now, we are doing an analysis of the budget after expenditure is made, but we are thinking in terms of predictive and futuristic analytical tools in order to make sure that the decisions that are made for utilization of resources are more scientifically and management oriented done. So that is what we are planning to do.
Since you spoke about initiatives that are futuristic in nature, let me have some questions on technology. With India's push towards digital governance, we've just celebrated a decade of the Digital India initiative. How is your department integrating cutting-edge technologies like artificial intelligence, data analytics, automation in the operations, the day-to-day operations of the department?
So that for me is a very important question, because we are passing through a phase of digital transformation.
Yes.
We have already prepared a roadmap for digital transformation of the department. You must know that our department again is one of the oldest department which started computerization in government. We are one of the oldest. We started long back with Hollerith machines. And over a period of time, we have developed so many applications, because huge defense expenditure you cannot manage unless you have an automated system. But as the demands increase and more futuristic requirements are there, we are getting into launching some very big projects for end-to-end automation. And we are going to use artificial intelligence, machine learning, and data analytics in a very big way. So the projects that we have in mind, one, I have already told you, Sparsh, which has already been launched. It's a very important, because through Sparsh, we are making payment of pensions. So it's not only payment, complete processing from sanction of payment till it is paid. It is all done through Sparsh. It has brought about a lot of transparency. Earlier, pensioners, they were not aware of their entitlement unless they went to the bank and checked their documents. Today, sitting at their home, they can check everything. We have made the whole system very transparent. The processing time. Earlier, it used to take about 6 months after a person retires to get the whole process completed. Now it hardly takes about a week. Similarly, once a pension is sanctioned, it used to take about 1 to 3 months in a bank for a pensioner to get his first pension. Now it takes 1 to 2 days.
Talk to us more about Sparsh. You've mentioned it a couple of times. So how is it transforming the life of defence pensioners, or who currently are quite significant in number across the country?
So 2 ways Sparsh is transforming life. One is the pension budget is 1.6 lakh crore. That is one thing. So you know the quantum of. 2, through Sparsh system, we have not only made the system very transparent, open and accessible to the pensioners sitting at their home, but in order to make sure that we ensure last mile delivery, we are also doing a lot of contact programs. We are perhaps again one of the very few departments who go to the doorsteps of the pensioners in order to make sure that there are no grievances or problems. In case they have any problem, we address them on the spot. So what we do is we have already organized more than about 206 pension outreach programs. The recent program was done only a few days back in Tiruchirappalli. Okay. And in these programs, we go to different states, districts, all the corners of the country, and we meet the pensioners, we resolve their problems on the spot, and we try to see that any kind of problem that they're facing are not repeated. That is one way of looking at it. And second is that in this whole process, we have also established a large number of pension centers in the country. So we have our own Sparsh centers, about 200, where pensioner can come and the grievances can be resolved. We have community service centers, more than 4 lakh, Indian postal banks, and then also we have got MOUs with about 16 banks. So that's the kind of network that we are creating all over the country to make sure that the defense pensioners, they don't face any problem. Another very good thing about Sparsh is that you must have heard about ORAP, one rank, one pension. Now, this is a very complex exercise. Unless you had a totally automated system, you couldn't have done it in a record time. Today, whenever ORAP is announced, within a few days, we do complete calculation and make payment in the bank of a pensioner. So that is very satisfying. I think that's one of the very satisfying things for me, to see smile on the face of a pensioner.
In fact, it's satisfying to hear that a lot is happening behind the scenes, and we are glad to hear how things have transformed in recent years. Let me also talk about the armed forces and the vendors, who also are significant stakeholders. So what steps have been taken in recent years to improve this kind of service delivery as well, which includes the other stakeholders that I just mentioned, the service to the armed forces, and at the same time, the various vendors who are a crucial part of the defense ecosystem?
So we do it in 2 ways. One is a normal management process through we continue to monitor that the payments are made in time, nobody has any problem. We continue to monitor the deadlines, the timelines throughout the country. So payments are made basically by 31 controller offices spread all over the country. Right. They make payment. Under these controller offices, there are sub-offices. So there's a large network of offices which are making these payments. All the foreign payments, they are made from Delhi. There is an office in Delhi which is called as Principal Controller of Defense Accounts, New Delhi. Then we have certain specialized offices also. That is how we do this. But in order to make sure that the system is further streamlined, recently a very, very ambitious project has been approved by Honorable Raksha Mantri ji. This is called as Sampurna. Now Sampurna is a totally automated end-to-end procurement and payment process. So through this process also we are making the whole system very open and transparent to all the stakeholders. We prefer to call them partners, including the vendors. So we are trying, once the project is implemented, the vendors will also be totally onboarded into the system. They can track complete transaction once they raise an invoice till the time payment is made. They can, real-time basis, they can track where the things are moving. So there is no opacity at all. And again, as I said, this is one major project that we are going to launch shortly in some time, which will be using artificial intelligence, machine learning and data analytics for futuristic and predictive decision-making process. So from controllers, we are trying to move towards collaborators with all the stakeholders, including defense services, vendors and us. So from being an organization which was inward-looking, we are trying to go outward-looking and become a part of the strategic management process. So we want to become strategic enablers. That is the kind of direction in which we are moving.
Something interesting that I found during the course of my research was also the role that the DAD plays in managing the financial aspects of the UN peacekeeping missions. Yeah. So India has been a major contributor, of course, to the UN peacekeeping forces. Talk to us about the specific role that the Defense Accounts Department has been playing over the years in managing the financial aspects of these missions that India is particularly very, very proud of.
Yes. I think you're quite aware that we are one of the largest contributors in the UN peacekeeping missions, and the major role is played by the defense services. But we provide a very, very important support service in terms of financial management. So an IDS officer is posted in these UN missions. Our officers, they are also going with the defense services on UN missions, and they are ensuring accountability and payment in a very accurate and timely fashion, not only to the soldiers who are posted there, the officers who are posted there, but also there is another important aspect, because when you deal with UN, there has to be a very high degree of professionalism, high degree of transparency, accuracy, timeliness. Ensuring that, and also making sure that the reimbursement that we have to get from the UN, they are done in time. So we have to maintain those high standards of UN which they require from any financial manager or accountant in order to make payment to us.
In fact, I did think about the challenges that your department must be facing in reimbursement and accounting challenges that arise in the UN missions. So how do you tackle these challenges?
So one is that the officers who are posted there, they're highly trained. They're highly trained, motivated, and they're connected. Their umbilical cord is connected to us in Delhi all the time. So any kind of challenges, there are challenges, of course. So those kind of challenges have to be addressed on real-time basis. And that we always do. So I think I take pride in being head of a department where we handle all these problems in a very, very highly professional and scientific manner, in a very timely manner. So those challenges for us are actually opportunities. And we look forward to having more such opportunities always. Another
big opportunity coming your way is the Controllers Conference 2025. It's being hailed as a landmark event for the department per se. So could you share with us how this conference over the years has evolved now as a platform for strategic dialogue and innovation within the defense ecosystem in the country?
Controllers Conference is a very, very important event. It's a biennial event which we do, and all the field controllers and our principal integrated financial advisors, they all assemble in Delhi. And over a period of 2 or 3 days, we do a complete thorough analysis of what we've done in the last 1 year, what more needs to be done, what are the challenges, what kind of management problem we have to deal with, and how to reorient our department in order to meet the expectations of the government. So that is the normal thing we do. But this year's Controllers Conference is going to be very, very historic. Why? Because, as I said, we are a 278-year-old department. Last year, on our foundation day, which is 1st of October, Honorable Raksha Mantri ji gave us a mandate. He said that from defense finance, now you have to prepare a roadmap to make your department a center of excellence for defense finance and economics. Now, what does it mean by that? It's a very, very profound statement. When we talk about defense finance, it is defense finance, accounts, payment, and we do our work, which I've already explained. When we talk about defense finance and economics, this is a very, very new idea. Why? Because we are now going to do an economic impact analysis of defense expenditure. It's a very important thing. Why? When we are spending an amount of 6.8 lakh crore, that amount has a lot of multiplier effect on the economy of the country in terms of employment generation, taxation, collection, in terms of support to MSMEs, startups, regional development, state-wise distribution. Now, this is a new kind of study. So we are a department which are trained and we are expert in this matter, but we had never thought about doing economic function. So 7th of July, we'll have this Controllers Conference. That day, a vision document of the department would be released, and complete realignment of department from defense finance to defense finance of economics is going to take place, which for us is a very, very historic moment.
Does that broader shift in the scope and operation of the department also explain the theme this year, which is transforming financial advice, payment, audit and accounting through defense finance and economics?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, that's the idea, because economic impact analysis, the multiplier effect of defense expenditure on, this is a very, very modern concept, and not a modern concept, actually it's happening in some countries, but the way we want to do about it in a very institutionalized manner. So 4 different things we'll be doing. And in a government department, when I'm going to make this statement, even to me it sounds very profound. We are going to bring about a massive structural change in the department, institutional change in the department, technological change in the department, process orientation is going to change. And in order to make all these changes possible, the biggest thing that we have to do is to bring about a cultural change. And in order to make that cultural change, we have to totally reorient our capacity building program, our HR policies. So we have already prepared the blueprint for all this, including training, capacity building, in order to make sure that we move in a very integrated fashion in this direction. We'll start taking the baby steps, and I hope that in next few years, we'll emerge as one of the pioneers of defense finance of economics in government.
So in that context, since you speak about transformation at various levels, there is this revised defense accounts code which talks about major modernization of financial procedures within the department. So how do you envision it reshaping and redefining financial governance, especially in terms of three aspects: compliance, governance and operational efficiency?
A defense accounts code is a departmental code. It's a basically what does it mean? It means codification of all the accounting principles and processes that we follow. Now, I have already explained to you that defense accounting is not a simple accounting process. Payments are happening all over the country. Smallest of locations, farthest, people from north to east to south to west, we have got our offices they are located there. To bring them together and in order to make sure that all these more than 1,400 offices, they work in unison on the basis of same principle, we have got a defense account code. Over a period of time, lots of changes have happened. And those changes used to be issued in the forms of amendment. What we have done now is we have completely codified it again on modern lines of accounting, in order to make sure that all the principles are totally designed towards futuristic requirements of the department. And they meet the requirement of management, also the meet of requirement of real-time decision making.
The Controllers Conference, you will have significant deliberations and discussions. How do you see them impacting the long-term financial strategy, at the same time the operational readiness of India's defense sector?
So, as I said, this year's Controllers Conference is going to be very different from the way we normally used to conduct it earlier. Yeah. This year's Controllers Conference is totally conceptual, totally strategic. All the sessions, we've got 8 sessions. We have invited thought leaders on different topics and subjects from outside the department also. So the concept paper, the vision document has been prepared by us, by forming committees, our own officers. So all these officers, they have done a lot of work to study the environment and to see which are the latest requirements which should be met, and this vision document is ready. But the deliberations, when they happen, we are going to talk about what we are going to do, but we are also going to hear from the experts from external sector. So we are going to hear from industry, as you said, partnership with the industry. We are going to hear from academia. We are going to hear from thought leaders in various areas, and they are going to talk about the concepts that we are going to discuss. And after that, we'll prepare a final paper in order to decide what strategic direction we are going to move. And that is finance and economics, I've already told you.
Since you've explained to us how the changes have happened and what's the need of the hour, it certainly does underline that we are at an inflection point in terms of defense and public finance. What are your top priorities in the next 2 to 3 years, both for the department and for the wider defense ecosystem?
I would say one word, which will define everything: complete transformation. From the way we used to do things earlier to the way we want to do things now. Total transformation. It is our functional transformation. It is our structural transformation. It is our process transformation. It is our digital transformation. Everywhere we are going to talk about total transformation. 1, 2, total reorientation. The whole service and the department will be reoriented towards defense finance and economics. And when we say defense finance and economics, it's more of a professional approach rather than a bureaucratic approach. You would see that the way we have designed the whole concept of this department moving in the future direction, we are going to change into a totally dynamic department, a living organism, an organization, which means with the changing times, we have to continuously adapt and change ourselves in a manner that we are able to meet the requirements and the challenges of the times.
So are these the reforms that you're also championing as CGDA to make the Defense Accounts Department a future-ready organization?
Absolutely. That is something which must happen. Time has come. It has to happen. And I'm sure it will happen.
Okay, so as India's defense landscape grows more dynamic and the need of the hour is to create a more agile environment, I think the transformation of defense finance is not something that we can expect to happen in future. It's the need of the hour. It's already happening. There's a fillip that's needed, and perhaps the CGDA has spoken to us about how several initiatives that have been undertaken and that will be announced in the days to come will perhaps take care of those changes which are required required. Thank you, Dr. Sharma, for joining us with those details. So to a common person like me, it may appear that defense accounts is back-end work, but it's not actually. There's so much happening behind the scenes and so seamlessly that one doesn't even notice. But thank you for the commendable work that your department is doing, and wish you the very best in bringing about the change that you want to see and that you've just spoken to us about. So with that, it's a wrap on this conversation. Thank you once again for joining us on the program. To your viewers, thank you very much for your time as well.
Thank you.
To watch more programs of Sansad TV, subscribe to our YouTube channel and don't forget to like and share them.